Hey, this is Awesome Arcades. So in this video, I'm going to be telling you everything you would need to know about this. This is our ultimate cocktail. And so I'm gonna do 3 sections in this video. The first section, I'm just gonna kind of tell you about the cabinet. In the second section, I'm gonna tell you more about the game board and the different things that the game board can do for this cabinet. And then in the third part, I'm just going to walk you through the shopping cart, what it would look like, what the different options are. As you add it to the cart, I'll kind of explain what those things mean. And then I'll direct you to some of the other parts of the website where I tell you more about shipping, the warranty policy, and then there's a section where I just kind of tell you about my business. And of course, I'd like you to check out my 100% 5-star reviews. So we have 3 different kinds of cocktail table. We have what's called the standard cocktail, the deluxe, and then this, the ultimate. So the standard and the deluxe, what those 2 cocktails can do, they have joysticks on this side and this side only. So they have 2 joysticks. What they're designed to do is they're designed to play games like Miss Pac-Man. So Miss Pac-Man is what's called a vertical game. Vertical just means if you take a TV and you turn it and install it basically sideways, it plays vertical games. What this, the ultimate, can do that those other cabinets can't do is, in addition to playing the vertical games, the long way games, you can also, the screen will flip over, and I'll show you more about that in a second, but it can flip over to here and you can play what are called horizontal games. Horizontal games are games that move left to right. So games like Super Mario Brothers, obviously 2-player games like Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, things like that. So in a lot of the videos on my website, I just kind of talk off the cuff, and invariably I go back and I watch those videos and I realize that I've missed something. So today I just kind of jotted down some notes, and so I'm not gonna read them verbatim, but they are things I'm just gonna look at to make sure that I haven't missed anything. So the first thing I just want to point out is this cabinet here is black. It also comes in cherry and walnut. On the website, if you click the picture of this product, you'll go into the product details page. Just below the main thumbnail, like the main image, you're gonna see like 30 uploaded pictures. Underneath each of those pictures, there will be a descriptor. And so I encourage you, if you want to see all the different exterior options, customer submitted photos with upgrades or custom work, scroll through those pictures and you'll be able to kind of see some of those different concepts of upgrades and things like that that people have added. So this machine is made of melamine. I get that question a lot. Melamine, or MDF, is a moisture-resistant treated material that is specifically used for like kitchen cabinetry or arcades. It is not plywood. This cabinet is 3/4 inch thick. It is very reinforced on the inside. There are 12 steel brackets. I'll show you that in a second. And it is 3/4 inch thick. Off the pallet, it's 150 pounds. And so the monitor in this cabinet is a 26-inch LED 1080p monitor. In December of last year, we had 24-inch monitors. So some of the product marketing images on the website might show the old 24-inch monitor, but most of the new images are gonna show you the 26. If you're interested, I do have some side-by-side pictures vis-a-vis of the 24 versus the 26. And so 26, sometimes I ask people if I can put a bigger monitor. 26 inches is the biggest monitor that I can fit in this cabinet and still have that cabinet be able to fit through a standard household door. And so if I go any bigger on the monitor size, unfortunately, then the number of people that are interested in buying it dramatically drops because, it might fit through your double doors now, but if you ever move or you plan on putting it in a room with a normal door, it's not gonna fit. So 26-inch LED 1080p monitor. It's also a wide viewing angle monitor. Wide viewing angle just means that no matter how extreme the angle you're viewing the monitor from, you'll still be able to see the picture. A lot of companies, they're not using TVs. We're using computer monitors in these cabinets. Now, the only issue with the computer monitor is if you've ever looked at a laptop and you're looking at it from straight on, and if the laptop is stationary and you kind of move off to the side, you'll notice that the more of an angle you're viewing the screen at, sometimes it just kind of washes out. You can't really see the image. And so what they did is they designed wide viewing angle screens. I use wide viewing angle screens in all my cabinets. They're a little more expensive, but for the stand-up guys, it's not as important. But for a cocktail, you have to have a wide viewing angle screen because if you get down, if you're actually sitting on one of the stools and you try to look at the screen, you can't see it. I actually found that out the hard way. When we first started making these in about 2015, it was just one of those unanticipated things. And the first few customers we had, they were like, hey, we can't see the game. Like when we're standing up, we can see it, but as soon as we sit down, we're having a hard time. So It is a wide viewing angle screen. I've actually put a link on what that means to, I don't know if it's Consumer Reports or some computer website that tells you more about what that is. Another question I get, so yes, these are coin operated machines. You don't have to use coins if you don't want to. So there is a free play mode, but for those people that are putting them in commercial applications, there is a functional coin mech. This is actually an upgraded coin mechanism. And so some of the earlier versions of the cabinets that we were selling, and actually a lot of our competitors, you'll see they've got like a little chintzy plastic coin mech, and it's, you know, kind of quasi-functional. They work, but not great. They don't always count every coin. They jam a lot. And so, you know, for an extra 50 bucks, we actually went out and bought high quality, you know, commercial grade coin mechs. So let's see. So as far as the lid, so this lid does open up. Well, before I get to the lid, that is tempered glass. So tempered glass, it's 3/8 of an inch thick. It is rounded on the corners. It is scratch resistant. Back in the day, so I've been selling these cabinets since 2012. Back in the day, there was a few companies using plexiglass on the top. I haven't seen that anymore, maybe because plexiglass is hard to get now because of COVID. But I think most companies are using glass, but make sure that it's tempered. You also want to check the thickness, 3/8 of an inch thick, and make sure that the corners are rounded. If you're not familiar with tempered glass, it's kind of like what they do for your car, for the windshield. They kind of bake layers of plastic in it, and that way if it breaks, it's not going to shatter and cut you. It kind of sticks together. So, okay, top of this cabinet does open up. It is on hinges. It's an easy open, easy shut lid. So these hinges are supported by air pistons. Same kind of pistons you would see in like a hatchback car, but you can open that up and close it. And so inside, and I'll tell you more about this stuff in the second part of the video when I talk about the board. That's your little game board. There's your stereo amplifier. So the standard cocktail and the deluxe, the ultimate has an upgraded audio system. It's got extra speakers and it does have the stereo amplifier. It's probably louder than you would ever want it, but you can also adjust the bass, treble, and balance. Let's see. That's a little note that my wife puts in all the games. She printed that for me. It's just in case you forget who you bought it from or you have any questions. And so inside the cabinet, if you're ever curious, if you ever needed to access the joysticks or buttons, I'll talk more about those in a second. There's 2 little bolts there. I've removed them over here. But you wanted to see how the sausage is made. That's how you get down into the interior. And so, like if you ever wanted to change a button, just unscrew that, take that out, and that's how you get to the inside. All right, I'm gonna close this lid here. Oh, one thing, if you're curious, I've had somebody ask me this. This is just a preview. One time I had somebody say, well, is it small like that? If you enter a game, it does fill up the full screen. I'll just kind of show you what that looks like. And so basically, and again, I'll cover this more in the second part of the video, but if you're playing over here and you want to leave the game, first of all, you press and hold the 1-player start button. That's how you exit out of the game. You can also save your progress, but I'll talk more about that in a second. But you exit out, and if you wanted to switch from, now this is head-to-head, right? So you could do 2 players where I go, then you go. But the early 80s games, you're not playing at the same time. You're just taking turns. Now, if you wanted to flip over to the side where you go 2 at a time, you just press and hold the B button. And then you're going to come over here. And the same thing here. When you enter the game, this is just a preview. When you enter the game, it does fill up the full screen. All right, let me see. So in terms of the artwork, under the glass, there's a thin vinyl veneer. You can see one over there, and I'll go over there in a second and show you that. But it's not taped down. It's not glued down. It just floats. And so I have 4 options that you can choose from. This one, which says arcade, obviously. It's in a font similar to Pac-Man. I've got this guy here that says awesome. And if you're interested, you can actually get, well, let me talk more about that in a second. You can get, I'm going to tell you about who designed that for me, and you can actually order art from this guy. But so I've got awesome. I've got this new one that says 80s arcade, or if you didn't want anything, I could just do all black. Now, if you do choose all black, just know that it's an arcade top that I've just flipped over. And so it's going to have arcade on the other side. And so actually the arcade top and the awesome top are both black. So whenever somebody says they want black, I say, well, what would be your second choice? Because on the other side, it's going to be arcade or awesome, and you could reverse it at some point in the future. So, but the 80s arcade is not black on the backside. It's white, and the blue kind of shows through. So if you're looking to flip that one over, that one's not going to work. Now, if you wanted to get something custom, sometimes people say, hey, I want my kids' names. I want my favorite sports team. I want the name of my business. The guy that designed these, he can do custom work. The guy's actually in Japan. I found him on, it's a website called Fiverr. People go on there. It's like Thumbtack or TaskRabbit. These different websites where people from around the world advertise their ability to create things for you, and then you send them some money through PayPal. And but this guy designed this for me. I think it was like 40 bucks. He also did this one from scratch. I just gave him the idea. I said I want it to be in a font very similar to Galaga, and he just created that. And I had a couple of guys try it, and none of them looked this good. So this guy's done a lot of really nice custom work for some of my customers. Now, if you wanted to get those things, like your kids' names, your business, your family crest, I can do those things. Sometimes people say, hey, I want Pac-Man or Galaga or Centipede. Legally, it's copyright infringement. So I can't ship those things to you. However, there's a guy that makes custom tops, and I've sent him all the templates for my cabinets. And so if you ask, I'll give you a direct link to his website. You can just go to his website and he'll print you whatever you want. Now, I can't install those things for you. So I can't ship anything out of my warehouse that has trademarked artwork on it. But in order to swap this out, it's actually really simple. There's 4 clips. On the bottom of each clip, there's 2 Phillips screws. You literally pull these clips off, lift the glass off, and then the artwork is literally just floating. So it's not taped down or glued down. You just slide that one out, slide the new one in, and you're all set. So again, I can do anything not trademarked. If you did want trademarked, you would buy it direct from that guy and have it shipped to your house. I would still ship you the cabinet with one of my tops, and then you would just swap it out when you get there. When it gets there, when the third-party top gets to you. So in terms of the T-molding, so this cabinet has black T-molding. You can kind of see what I'm talking about here. Okay, it's just a cabinet that I'm working on. But if you wanted to swap that out, there's an option during checkout where you can get orange, green, yellow is by far the most popular. A lot of people like yellow because it ties into that top. I've got hot pink, which also ties into that one. Dark pink, green, I said green, red, blue, and I think that's it. Yeah, it's Roy G. Biv. Red, orange, green, blue, indigo, violet. Purple. I've also got purple trim. Okay. Let's see. And so, yeah, that's an option during checkout. If you want to see the trim installed, there's 2 places you can find pictures. On the top of my website, so if you're looking at Awesome Arcades, on the very top on the right-hand side, there's a little link to my Google business page, and it says, click here to read my reviews. On my Google business page, customers that have left reviews, a lot of them have submitted pictures of their cabinets. And a lot of them have either gotten custom work from me, which I'll talk more about in a second, or they've added, the tops that I talked about, like a Pac-Man or Galaga. So if you wanted to see what those look like, you wanted to see the different trim. I've had people do like combo trim where they get like green and orange and yellow. It's like a Skittles game where all the buttons are different colors. But yeah, click on that. Again, top of the website, right-hand side, it says click here to read my Google reviews. While you're there, check out my reviews. And so one cool thing about Google, I go to websites and you always see a couple of good reviews on the website. Of course, they're not going to post any bad reviews. The problem is you don't know if they have bad reviews or good reviews. The great thing about Google Business is whatever reviews people leave, I can't delete them. So I can't cherry pick some good reviews. I can't get rid of bad reviews. Reviews in the order that they've been left, untouched by me, or posted on the website. I tell you that because I've got 100% 5-star reviews. I'm very proud of that. I work very hard for those reviews and I intend on keeping it 5 stars. Reviews are I'm asking you to buy a $3,000 game from some guy that you've never met on the internet. And I realize there's a big leap of faith and a lot of trust, and you don't know me, but one of the cool things about the reviews is these are other people and they have posted some of their experiences. You know, when I buy something on Amazon, I immediately go and I look at the reviews. I look at the 5-star reviews, I look at the 1-star reviews, I look at the recent reviews. Because sometimes you'll see something that has, you know, a 4.8 on Amazon, and then the last 8 reviews are bad. And they'll say like, oh, they changed the ingredients, or, you know, something happened to the product. But if they're all 5s, then it doesn't matter if they're old or new, or and there's no 1-star reviews to look at. So yeah, please check those out. Okay, these joysticks on this side of the cabinet, again, this is the horizontal side. These are 8-direction joysticks. These are Sanwa. These are Sanwa, S-A-N-W. All right, sorry, I got a phone call. These are Sanwa joysticks, top of the line. Feel free to Google that. They go 8 directions, so up, down, left, right, and then you got diagonals, which you need for Street Fighter. Now, this cabinet that I'm showing you is a sold cabinet. Somebody's already bought it. During checkout, there's an option to upgrade and get 8-direction joysticks on the vertical side. What comes included are these guys. These are called Suzo Hap. Suzo Hap is the company that made joysticks for the original Miss Pac-Man. Those joysticks only go 4 directions. And for these vertical games like Pac-Man and Donkey Kong and Frogger and Galaga, for most of those games, you don't need diagonal movement. And so it comes with 4-way joysticks. There is an option to add 8-way joysticks. Some of the games on this side of the cabinet need diagonal joysticks, but bear in mind that every game that you can play here, you can also play over there. So Pac-Man can be played here, here, and here. Now, the horizontal games can only play on the horizontal side. So I hope that makes sense. So like Street Fighter, you can't play Street Fighter over there, but all the vertical games can play from all 3 stations. And so if you're concerned, if you get 4-way joysticks and you're saying, well, I want to be able to play that game that requires diagonal movement, you could just play it over there. There's a video that I'm going to link in the product description on the website that's going to go into that in more detail, because a lot of people have questions. But in a nutshell, that's an explanation for the fact that there are 4-direction joysticks on this side of the cabinet, and during checkout, you can add these. This is somebody that bought this, added 8-direction joysticks. In addition, so I used to tell people that they could upgrade their joystick colors for an additional fee, and they're actually pretty expensive. These joysticks are 35 bucks. I am now going to be giving joystick upgrades. So if you wanted to get different colored joysticks, I'm going to throw it in for free. In addition, if you want different colored buttons, I used to charge $7 a piece for custom colored buttons. I'm going to start including that for free now as well. And so the website limits the number of options that I can put. If I have 6 different options for checkout, and under each option there's 6 different possibilities, you're getting into the tens of millions of permutations or combinations possible. And most modern websites, believe it or not, can't handle it. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to have an option during checkout that says black joysticks or color joysticks. And then during checkout, there's a place for notes. Just tell me what color joysticks you want. Trust me when I tell you, I will never ship until I confirm the options. I always confirm everything in writing, and that's as much for me as it is you. I don't want to ship you the wrong thing. You don't want me to ship it to the wrong place. So we're going to talk either by email or on the phone before I ship to make sure that I've got the right stuff going to the right place. But during checkout, if you want to get different colored joysticks or buttons, just let me know. This machine also has 3 trackballs. Previous versions of this cabinet only had 2 trackballs, and that was a function of the fact that a lot of the old game boards couldn't support 3 trackballs. There is a brand new amazing game board available for these 3-sided cabinets. That'll be the second part of this video, but that game board now supports 3 trackballs, which is pretty cool. The trackball for this cabinet is called a Suzo Hap. Suzo Hap. Again, Suzo Hap is the company that makes the joysticks. These trackballs are top of the line. They're the best that you can buy. This one is, what are they going for right now on Amazon? 125 bucks each. Okay, a lot of my competitors are using this trackball, which is okay. They work. You know, this is like a $25 trackball. So it's kind of cool. The game board I'll tell you more about in a second. Each trackball has its own cable. Now, on the game board, which is this guy, there's only one port or plug-in for the trackball. It's over here. Okay, let me show you what it looks like inside. So there's your board. That's what this guy is. It's got one trackball port. Well, how do you plug in all 3 trackballs if there's only one USB plug? What I'm going to buy for you and include, it's included in all the cabinets. I used to just sell it as a separate option, but I'm just going to include it now. I used to not include it because there's different game boards that you can put in this cabinet, but that one is hands down the best, and nobody's using these other ones anymore. And so this one, I've included the adapter because you'll need the adapter to play that board. But so this is the adapter. Basically, it allows you to take all 3 trackballs. You plug in one there, and one there. And then from that, you can convert all 3 trackballs into one USB. It's almost like a USB splitter, right? Like a power strip. And so, okay, what else? Oh, these control panels are blue plexiglass. The buttons are red. The start buttons are white. That's stock. That's what's going to be included. If you wanted to get something different. Now, again, I just told you, if you want different color joysticks, I'm going to throw that in. And just to give you an idea, yesterday, if you wanted upgraded joysticks, they were $37.50 each. That was the price installed. So if you want those, I can put them in there. If you still want black, we can stick with that. Red buttons. Yesterday, the red buttons, or excuse me, any other buttons were $7 a piece installed. I'm going to just throw those in now. But that's what's included. Now, these blue plexiglass things are called the control panels. If you don't like the blue, I can wrap them for you. And so wrapping the control panels basically involves me taking off all the buttons, all the joysticks, the trackball, all the wiring harnesses, and then I take them and I can put this, which is called automotive wraps. So there's a company called Vivid Vinyl, and they make wraps that are actually for cars. But if you wanted, I can take these off. Now the price for that is $150 yesterday. I'm now gonna do it for $100. I charge $100 because it's about $30 for the materials, and it takes about 3 hours to do. So, but this is black carbon fiber. This is, I think it's lemon yellow. You've got pink carbon fiber. This one is called Rainbow Sparkle. Look at the pictures on my website, or just go to Vivid Vinyl. Any of their automotive wraps, I think it's vividvinyl.com, or you could just Google that. Any of the automotive wraps I can put on there. Here's some options of wraps that I've done for other customers. So this is gray carbon fiber, blue carbon fiber, orange carbon fiber. That's that yellow I showed you over there. This is called Daytona yellow. There's the pink carbon fiber. This is called slate gray. The most popular one by far is black carbon fiber. It's fire engine red, carbon fiber, just solid black. This one is pretty cool. It's almost like a, I don't know, like a yoga mat. It's like honeycomb. This is the sparkle one. And there's another one that I had laying over here. I can't find it. It's textured. It's almost like sandpaper. It's like the type of material that you see on the running board of a truck, like if you're going to step up and into a truck so you don't slip. But it's pretty cool. Okay, I think that covers everything just for the exterior of the cabinet and the different options. So in the next part of the video, let me just make sure I haven't missed anything. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, you can actually get now a lift kit. There's pictures of it on the website, but they're hairpin legs that support up to 350 pounds. Some people say, do you have a base or a pedestal? The issue with the pedestal, the cost for shipping is based on what the freight companies call the shipping class. The class is based on the dimensions. This cabinet is within 1 inch of bumping up its shipping cost into the same class as a stand-up, which is about 60% more expensive. And so if I were to build a base, just the incremental additional shipping cost would be about $250 plus the cost of the base. So, I mean, the base would be somewhere in the neighborhood of $450, $475. I did some questionnaires on my website earlier, and I just asked some of my former customers, like, hey, would you buy that? And 90% of the people said that's too expensive. Now, if you did want to get some kind of pedestal, I actually bought some milk crates from a company called Uline, U-L-I-N-E. I bought 18 by 12 and a 12 by 12, 2 of each. I zip tied them all together, and I put a piece of plywood over the top. So when this cabinet ships to you, it's going to have a piece of plywood over the top with bubble wrap and then styrofoam. Check out the shipping tab on the bottom of my website if you want to see how they're packed. But you could either build that pedestal and set it on there, Or you could get those hairpin legs and they're gonna raise it up 12 inches. But basically it would be the same height as the bottom of one of my stand-up cabinets over there, and then you could play it while standing. Last thing is, on the game board, some people say, is there a headphone jack? On the side of the board, there is a headphone jack. I sell earbuds if you wanted to buy some. You probably have some already. But you can get a splitter, which allows you to plug in the headphones, and then 2 pairs can come out, and then you could have headphones for 2 players to play at the same time. All right, so in the next part of this video, I'm gonna tell you about that game board right there that is called the Pandora DX. It is specifically designed for these 3-sided cabinets, and it's the best board in the market. All right, so for this part of the video, I'm gonna tell you more about the game board. So, got my little notes here. Now, I'm not gonna read these. I'm just gonna glance at them so I can reference. Just wanna make sure I don't forget anything. So, you're probably in the information gathering phase, and you're trying to learn about, what's different between different companies. All the machines that you're looking at, if they're cocktail tables, they all play a platform called JAMA. JAMA is a universal programming language that arcade companies decided they were all gonna use in the early 80s. I won't get into it much more than that. You can Google JAMA if you're interested. But for these 3-sided cabinets, there's like 3 main JAMA boards. So these machines will play any JAMA board. I've got some there, and I've got about 30 more in my garage. But there's only 3 that I know of that can do that flipping thing that I showed you, that it plays on this side, or you could flip it over to this side. Okay, the alternative to that is you'd plug in a board and play here, and then if you wanted to get up and move where you're seated, you'd have to open the lid, unplug one board, plug in another. People don't like that. They like the ease of being able to flip, and so there's 3 main boards. One's called the Blue Elf. It's called first of all, the number is always the number of games on the board. And so the first board that came out for this was called the 1033. It had 1,033 games. And then I think a year later, they upgraded it to 1,162. But those mean the same thing. So the 1033 or the 1162, it's a game board from a company called Blue Elf. The next one is called the 3500. It has 3,500 games. That's from a company called Game King. And then this one that I'm showing you here is the Pandora DX. It's called the Dual because it can do dual horizontal and vertical. It has 3,000 games. I've tried them all. Pandora is head and shoulders above the rest. And that's what I'm going to talk about in this video, kind of what makes it different, why it's amazing. I could use any game board, and Pandora is by far the best. And it's less expensive than some of the others, which also makes it pretty awesome. So, okay. So the Blue Elf came out when these cabinets first started being made back in about 2014. And because it was the only board that could flip, it was pretty cool and essential. It had a lot of issues. One of the main issues was that it was very pixelated. When there was like too much information on the screen, the actual gameplay would kind of slow down. It was very slow to load. It didn't have a lot of key games like NBA Jam and Mortal Kombat. I mean, basically it had 750 games here, 412 games there. But yeah, as you'll see in a second, the Pandora board does a lot of things that that game board does not do. The other game board that we used to recommend back in 2016 through like 2018 was a game board called the Game King, 3,500, and now I think it's called the 4,500. The issue with that board, number one, it's very expensive. It's between $400 and $500, which is great if it's included with the cabinet, but if it burns out after your warranty, then you're gonna be stuck, buying a $400 board. That board had a fail rate of about 15% after the first year. There's an internal component in that board called an I/O board. And for whatever reason, that I/O board was from China and it was awful. I mean, I hate to say it, but you buy a lot of things from China and they look really nice. Like for example, those 2 humidifiers that I bought, those humidifiers worked great. And about 3 weeks after the warranty, that one burned out about 3 weeks after the warranty. That one burned out about 6 months after the warranty. But basically, they both burned out. And so there was an internal component in that board, the Game King, that would burn out. And so I couldn't deal with it anymore. I felt bad recommending people to buy something that would burn out after a year. And so what I used to do, and then there's this one, the Pandora, but the Pandora is a new board. That board just came out. And so I didn't want to tell people about the Game Elf or the Game King. So what I used to have them do is you could buy that Pandora board, but it didn't have the switching thing. It would only play on this side. And there's another board that you could get for my little cocktail tables called the 60 board that you could put over here. What I used to tell people to do is you could buy this thing called a board switcher. It was like a CD changer, and you could plug in 2 boards and then switch back and forth between them with like a key fob, like a car remote thing. And so that's what I used to do until that board came out about a year ago. I would have people buy the Pandora board for this side, the 60 game board for this side, and then they would use the game switcher. I did that because those were much better options than the Blue Elf or the Game King. So then the Pandora board came out. So this board does a lot of things that I really, really like that a lot of the other boards can't do. And so just so I don't forget anything, I kind of listed them down. So first of all, it's called the DX 3000. It has 3,000 games. So it can play 3,000 games from this side, and it has 516 games that you play on that side. And again, bear in mind that all those 516 games, Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, Frogger, Dig Dug, Galaga, you can also play over on this side. Let's see. Oh, on some of the other game boards, I've seen where they'll say, oh, we have 4,500 games. And then you go to look at the game list, and they have Street Fighter 2 listed 77 times. Like, I've literally seen that. 77 times the same game. You're scrolling through pages of the exacts, and they're not variations like Street Fighter 2 or Street Fighter 3. It was literally games listed multiple times. It was like they were trying to hit some advertised target number and say, see, we have X amount of games, instead of just listing each game once. And so this game board doesn't have any duplicates. All the games are only listed once. Let's see. Oh, on some of the other games, like on like that yellow board right there, you load up the games. It says like Grand Theft Auto, and you load it up, and it's like every third frame drops out. Like, it's super choppy. Some of the games would freeze. Every single game that I've ever played on this Pandora is exactly the original version. There's no different audio. There's no different graphics. There's no glitches. There's no freezing. The other thing about the DX is the games load lightning fast. I always like to tell people, so this is the Blue Elf. Okay, that was the board I was talking about in the beginning, the 1033, the first board that ever came out. That board, the games take about 30 seconds to load. The Pandora DX, when you open a game, it's almost instant. It's like the difference between an iPhone 3 and an iPhone 13. So it loads super fast. Let's see. In the Pandora DX, you can actually create save points. And I showed you that briefly earlier. But basically, if you're inside of a game and you press and hold the one player start button, a window pops up. It'll say continue, save, load, or exit. And so if you're on Tetris and you have 100 lives, you can save your progress, turn the machine off, come back a week later, open Tetris, and then load up your progress from where you left off. I have not seen any other boards that can do that. Now, to me, by far the best feature of this board, and the thing that I love the most, now I should just say it has 3,000 games, which is a lot. They call this board the family board. The family DX is what they advertise on the website. And as far as I can tell, I think it says family because it has more family-friendly games. Now, when I say family-friendly, it does have all the classics, your Mortal Kombats and your Street Fighters, but in addition, it has a ton of Commodore games, like Commodore 64, Atari. This has some of the oldest arcade games ever made, like a lot of games from 1978. The first Sprint, which is a race car game, the first basketball game, the first baseball game. But if there's a game that's not on here, you can now go and download for free unlimited games from Nintendo, Super Nintendo, PlayStation 1, Sega Genesis, and a couple other consoles. So if you go to YouTube, there's a video that'll show you how to do it. But basically, there's these different websites that you can go to. You can download the games for free onto a file. On the back of the board, there's a little USB port. You stick your USB stick in there, and then when you turn the machine on, it just knows how to read them. And so you'll look at, the board has 3,000 games, and when you plug in your own, basically game number 3001 is going to be all of your downloaded games. So for example, I've downloaded all the Zeldas, like Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, all the Castlevanias, Metroid, Grand Theft Auto, Tomb Raider, Crash, what was it called? Bandicoot. Anyway, a lot of games. Unlimited. Basically every Nintendo, Super Nintendo, PlayStation, as many as you can fit on a USB stick. And if you have those old games didn't take up a lot of memory. So I have not seen any other games where you can download for free unlimited games. So to me, that's pretty much the coolest thing. The other thing I really like about this board, and that I think Game King might do this, but that Blue Elf certainly didn't. If you press the start button, it has subcategories. And sorry, I've got kind of a glare from the overhead light here. Pre-programmed into the board, it has subcategories: 3D games, action games. In addition, it's got recently played games, so you can see what I'm into. But it's got a search function. And so you can just go and start typing the name of the game. And just like an Excel document or a Word document, you can just search out the title of the game. And on a board that has 3,000 games, that's really great. That board right there has no search function, and the games aren't in alphabetical order. So unless you know the number of the game, or I guess you can go on their website and you can do a Control F search and find the game title if they have the game list listed somewhere. But to me, it's a lot easier just to be able to search for the game. It's also got the ability to create a favorites list. Some of the older versions of this board, so Pandora is a company, a software company that makes game boards. And so Pandora, like iPhone, comes out with a new version maybe every 18 months. And so this is the newest version, and it's the first version for these three-sided cabinets. Some of their older versions, you could download like Nintendo games and add them, but it didn't have like PlayStation, Super Nintendo. Some of the older versions had a favorites list that you could create, but you could only put like 10 or 15 games. Now you can add 100 games to your favorites list. So for the favorites list, basically, well, let me show you. So on the side of the board, it's a little button down here. This is your setup button. And so if you're interested, before I ship any machine, I got to test it to make sure that it works. So we go into IO test, press A, and this is basically just how I make sure all the joysticks and buttons are working. Okay. But what I wanted to show you is we go back here. Oh, this is how you change it from coin op to free play, by the way. You go to game setting, and then what did I do? System config. Credit setting, free play, or you could change that. Let's see. But if you go into game setting, and first of all, you can change the difficulty and number of lives that you get in a lot of the games. So I have 3 toddlers. Well, I have an 11-month-old. He's not a toddler yet. I've got a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old. And they love to play the games, but even the early 80s games are a little bit too hard for them. So I will go into a game called Ladybug. I'll put it on the very easiest mode, and then I'll give them the max lives, which I think is 6. You know, if you went into the arcade, you would get 3. That way they can play forever. So that's what that is. You can change the difficulty and number of lives. You can disable games. If you see games on there that you don't think are appropriate for your kids, maybe you don't want them to play Monopoly or Jeopardy or Family Feud, you can deactivate those. I don't know why you wouldn't want them to play that, but hypothetically, you can take those games off. Lastly, you can edit the favorites list. It says press the C button. And so if you're interested, that's A, B, C. So we go into C. Now, if you see a game that you like, it says favorite or unfavorite by pressing the A button. So we're gonna press the A button, and you're gonna notice a little star pops up next to it. We're gonna go back, we're gonna exit and save. Now the next time when the game turns on, those games are gonna show up first. So they'll show up at the top of your game list, that way we don't have to scroll through. But if you did have to scroll, just so you know, even though there's 3,000 games, if you press down, and those lights overhead are killing me. Let me try this, there we go. If you have to scroll down, it will rapid scroll. I'm just holding the joystick down. If you press and hold the joystick right, it will rapid scroll 1 page at a time. So you can actually scroll pretty fast. Again, you don't have to do this if you just search for the title of the game that you're looking for, but that's kind of nice to know. Okay, I think I've covered everything. Pandora DX uses search function. Oh, last thing. So this board does have a plug-in on the back for PlayStation style controllers. I say PlayStation style. The plug-in for a PlayStation controller was not USB. It was something different. They sell PlayStation controllers, but they're not officially PlayStation because they're actually USB. So they're actually for your computer. But you can plug in 2 PlayStation controllers through this. It's a USB, what do you call it? Like a power strip, basically. It allows you to plug in multiple USBs into one thing. You can plug them in, and now you can do 4-player games. So you can't use all 4 joysticks on this cabinet at the same time. Basically, it's because internally, it's only going to recognize, well, anyway, you just can't do it. Ask me and I'll tell you more about why that is. But if you wanted to do 4-player games, and there are quite a few 4-player games on this board, if you wanted to do 4-player games, and just so you know, if you ever wanted to know what those 4-player games are, you come down here and it'll show you. You can actually plug in those controllers and you could do player 1, player 2, and then player 3 and player 4 with the PlayStation controllers. Or you could not use these at all. You could just use the PlayStation as 1 and 2, or any combination therein. And then you could play 4-player games like NBA Jams, where it's 2-on-2 basketball. You could do Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, The Simpsons. And so if your kids have a birthday party and you want 4 people to be playing at the same time, that's an option during checkout. I'll go over that in a second when I go through the shopping cart. I was just going to show you. If you're curious, well, I'll tell you more about that in a second. I'm going to talk about those different boards right there. I think that's it for this part of the video. Next, I will go into the checkout and how that works. All right, so last part of the video. So this is the game board. I referenced that earlier. Just wanted to show you a little bit. So this piece here, this is called your JAMA harness. This is the game board itself. There's your trackball. There's your monitor cable. So these are all different representations of JAMA boards. One thing they all have in common is they all have these, they're called fingers or teeth. And this kind of looks like a Nintendo cartridge, if you've ever seen one where you'd kind of blow down inside of it if it wasn't working right. And so inside the cabinet, I just showed you this thing. This is called the JAMA harness. That is a female part. On the board here, you've got those fingers. It's called the male part. There's a little piece of blue tape that marries up with that little notch there. But basically, you take that, you push that down onto that pops in place. You plug in your monitor cable, and then you plug in your VGA cable for the trackballs. The reason I'm telling you that is because this game board is not included with this cabinet. The reason that I don't include that game board with this cabinet is because these game boards are not licensed. And so I know some of my competitors do it. They're not supposed to. And unfortunately, I've seen quite a few of them getting shut down. I don't want to get shut down. And so if you're going to buy a machine from me, you're going to buy the cabinet from me. Obviously, I'm going to test it with that board to make sure that it works. I'm going to give you a direct link on where to buy that board. It's about $140. And when you get your machine, you're going to have to lift up the lid. You're going to have to plug that board in. I have a video that'll show you how to do that setup where you push the button and put it on free play and whatnot. But I wanted to make sure that was clear. The reason I put that information at this part of the video, and some people get frustrated, and I understand. They go, wait a minute, there's no games in your arcade? I put this in this part of the video because I wanted you to see the other information. If I told you straight out, right out of the gate, hey, there's no game board, most people would stop watching the video. So I have to embed it later in the video. If I could put the game boards in the cabinets, believe me, I would. I'm trying to do things the right way. I don't want to get shut down and I don't want to get in trouble. I know that there's a lot of people out there, some of my competitors are putting them in, but I've seen too many of them go away. It may not be an issue now, but in 6 months, if you have a warranty issue and you're calling the company and their website isn't online, then it becomes an issue. I know that's the case because I get calls from people at least once a week and they say, hey, I've got an issue with my cabinet. The company that I bought from isn't around. Can you help me? And of course I do, but yeah, so this board, as I mentioned, is about $140. And so last thing I'm gonna show you is when you go to checkout on my website. So, all right, what screen was I on here? Cancel. Oh, so if you're interested in the shipping tab on my website, the warranty tab, real quick, the machine is brand new. It comes with a 3-year warranty. The warranty covers pretty much everything on the cabinet. I have lifetime tech support for free. None of the parts on here are, unique or proprietary. Anything that's used on this machine, you could always just buy online. But I will be your friend and your advocate for as long as you own the machine, even if you sell it to someone. Even after the warranty period, you still have to pay for the parts, but I will always be able to guide you. In addition, if you haven't seen my YouTube page yet, check it out. I've got tons of videos that'll walk you through pretty much anything that you would ever need to do, but everything on this machine is pretty simple. My background was in marketing. I'll tell you more about how I started this company in other videos. But I didn't know how to work on arcades until about 2 years ago. I was the guy that created the website and did all the Google advertising. And I decided that I wanted to branch out on my own and start doing the cabinets. I had to learn how to build these things and do everything that I'm currently doing basically by watching YouTube videos. But let me just tell you, I am not that tech savvy, believe it or not. Most people would think I am. If I can do it, you can do it. And so 3-year warranty. In terms of shipping, games are fully insured during transit. That's one other thing I'll say. Read the shipping terms. I've seen on some of my, people always say, what's different between you and this other guy? So I have to look at my competitors and try to find things that I see that are different so I can explain to people what's different. Obviously, there's a lot of things that are the same. But one thing that I saw that concerned me, other than their cheap coin doors, is I saw one company and it says, if your game is damaged or lost in transit, contact the shipping company to get compensated. That's crazy. Like if I buy a fridge on Amazon and it never shows up, I'm calling Amazon to get my money back. I'm not calling FedEx or DHL. The problem is whoever packs it and ships it and contracts with the shipping company has to be responsible for it. You know, you don't know what shipping company they used. You don't know how well they packed it. And so, yeah, my game is fully insured during transit. I mean, there's some instructions on how to inspect it and that kind of stuff, but in the event that it showed up damaged and you refused it because you saw the damage, then yeah. But if you're interested in knowing more about that, go to the very bottom of my website. There's a tab that says shipping. There's a tab that says warranty. There's a tab that says about us. In that, there's a video, 15 minutes of me just kind of explaining to you. I touched on it earlier, just about how crazy I am about getting good reviews. But if you wanted to see more information about that, I've got pictures of my family, my wife, and all my little munchkins running around the house. There's a direct game list. If you wanted to see a list of the games on the Pandora DX, you can go to the game list. My website's loading slow. You can go to the JAMA game board tab. Basically on a tablet or on your cell phone, there's these 3 little dots. You tap that, you go down to the game list. You could search the game list. I wanted to show you on the checkout screen. Let me get rid of this glare here. And so these are the, my internet's really slow. Again, there's all the thumbnail images. You can see these, and I kind of referenced that earlier. As you scroll down just below this, you'll see all the different exterior options. This is the hairpin legs that I was talking about that you can add during checkout. So if you wanted to get those, as I mentioned earlier, I can only add so many different options at checkout. I've left those off. So during checkout, there's a place for notes. If you want custom colored buttons, custom colored joysticks, control panel wraps, hairpin legs, just let me know during checkout. I always see those notes. I don't ever ship it, so don't worry that, is he gonna see it? Is he gonna get my order wrong? I always confirm everything in writing before I ship. But these are just some product images that customers have submitted. You can check those out. These are third-party tops that somebody bought. That one says Atlanta Braves. Obviously, I can't ship that one. Michigan. Yeah, I mean, one cool thing about me is I definitely do things the right way. I try to stay on the right side of the right side, so, but that is a good thing in the long run. So as we scroll down here, I'm gonna take you finally to the shopping cart, okay? First option you see is trim, and basically you could just choose black trim or the colored trim. Once you choose colored trim, in the notes, just tell me what color you want. You got the cocktail top art, we discussed all those. You've got the joysticks, the vertical 1-player, you know, the 4-way or the 8-way. Again, there's a direct link with like a 5-minute video that'll go into more detail about that, the pros and cons. These are the 2 USB PS controllers. Those are those guys that we talked about. And so if you didn't get those, you would just use the joysticks. If you did get those, you would use those during checkout. Let's see, cabinet color, black cherry or walnut. Cherry and walnut are $125 more. They cost more to build. Stools. And so the most popular stools that we have are these. These are chrome adjustable stools. They lower to 14 inches and they raise up to 21 inches. They have a piston that lowers and raises like an office chair. If you wanted to get, I used to be able to carry black stools like this, but it's been impossible to get them since around October of 2021 because of supply chain issues. By the time you watch this, maybe I'll be able to get them again, but as of right now, I can't get them. These are pine. I bought these and I was just gonna paint them black, but once I spray painted them, they didn't look that great. And so if you want, you could buy these. These are pine or black. They also come in walnut, but the walnut again are out of stock, just like the black. But these are by far the most popular, even when I do have all the stools in stock. Those are 18-inch chrome. And I think that is pretty much everything. Oh, you can buy an extended warranty if you want. I don't think you need it. I get a lot of people that ask if there's an option, so I added that. But it comes with 3 years. You can bump that up to a total of 5, 2 additional years. It's $195 more. And then again, there's just a video of me. It's a Christmas picture with the wife and kids. The last thing I'll just come down to is the shipping. If you click the shipping tab on the bottom of my website, it will tell you more about the shipping policy, the amount of time. I don't want to go too much into it in this video, but go ahead and check that out. It's in the product description. And here's at the bottom where I say, there's no game board included. You're going to have to buy your own using the links above. Okay, thank you for watching this. Please let me know if you have any questions. Sorry the video is so long. As you can see, there's a lot of information to cover.